The floor is yours.
Cool, thank you everyone. It's really inspiring to be here. I've already heard so many amazing talks and so much inspiring information. Today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about something that has been on my mind for a while. And I'll do this through the context of several projects, but it is really about this idea of the secret code of nature. And I'm going to go into what I mean by that, but essentially I think it's really good to start by giving a little context about my background, because this will help out a little bit. I used to be a chef for about 12 years. Part of this was in the US Navy and part was out, but I was based in Japan. This eventually, my passions changed and I became interested in sound arts. I moved from Japan to the UK and started studying and became very interested in this idea of altered states of listening, whereby someone has such a powerful listening experience that it causes them to shift their perception in some way, oftentimes in a positive way. And trying to understand this, I began studying into experience design, where I thought, can you reverse engineer these experiences? Can they be shaped in a different way, potentially to help someone, but maybe as simple as getting people to rethink some aspect about life. And as I said, I'm interested in the code of nature, and I'll be talking about three projects that I've been working on over the past 10 years. The first, Unfolded Labs, is kind of my work as a sound artist to create immersive concerts. And immersive is something that's kind of thrown around a little bit in lots of different ways, so it can mean lots of different things. But essentially, what I mean by this is what happens, again, when we change the environment and we focus in on the experience and how the experience might affect someone. I also spent a fair amount of time working for the company creative design agency Marshmallow Laser Feast. For those of you who don't know, they work in virtual reality, and often most of their installations are nature-centric and kind of connect people to nature with technology. And also, I work with Google Arts and Culture Lab, and we do collaborations with artists and technology, and kind of mainly focusing on climate change and climate data. So where can we hear this secret code of nature? In some ways, we kind of all are hearing it. It exists in hidden patterns and codes. And sometimes these codes are very subtle, but they can be so powerful that it actually permeates all aspects of our lives. And we might think of some classic examples of what this might be, so whether it be the Fibonacci sequence, and we might relate to it in other ways, so other places to see nature and read their messages might be as simple as seeing it in your home, or perhaps something you've seen on TV. But here's the question: are we really decoding these messages, or are we part of something bigger? And I think it's important. Let's dive into understanding nature's code and understand a little bit more what you mean by that. So nature has evolved certain behaviors over time, and we have evolved with them. Take, for example, the jaguar call. This is the early Aztecs actually created something called the death whistle, which, when blown, created a screaming sound, a deathly screaming sound that sounds very similar to the jaguar calls. and this was used in wartime to invoke a sense of fear. Bees, for example, their flight patterns are actually so subtle, it's hard to notice for most people. But if you pay attention to them, they have real-world implications. It can lead you to food and honey, or it can lead you to water. And also the seasonal patterns and migrations of animals also have somehow infiltrated our ceremonies and festivals. And interestingly, today, nature is also trying to decode us. Maybe bears just want to be friends. Or raccoons, they love story time. And bizarrely, crows have actually started using the machines of humans to find food. They drop nuts from very high heights over intersections to get cars to run over them and get what's inside. And of course, humans are still decoding nature in lots of different ways. And in this kind of, the power of nature shows itself in lots of different ways, whether it be fashion, architecture, furniture, product design. Again, we can kind of all point to this. And which brings me to one of my personal attempts at decoding nature. It started with me becoming very interested in our feet and the importance of our feet in our connection to nature. Our feet are the thing that grounds us to the ground. They are the things that take us out into nature. But yet, they're constantly wrapped in shoes, and we rarely take the time to feel and touch. So, what happens when we actually take off our shoes and pay attention to what we're touching and listen carefully? And this allowed me to realize that I kind of needed to create a new type of concert that involved people walking over different natural materials, and as they walk over those natural materials, they can hear the sound that it makes. And this was set up in a way that combines sound, touch, and technology to turn a foot obstacle course, where you walk over these natural materials, whether it be sand or grass, to turn this foot obstacle course into a kind of musical playable instrument. This project was called By Extremities, and we did a test event, and I'm going to show you a quick R&D sort of promotional video that explains a little bit about what that project did.
By Extremities is an interactive barefoot experience exploring if our connection to nature can deepen when we tap into the subtle cues our feet send us. We tested the experience on a group of 37 participants who were asked to walk over different natural materials while wearing headphones. Using precise microphones and sensing technologies, participants could hear the language of each natural material as they touched it in real time. Our user testing revealed many intriguing insights, including increased body awareness and increased presence after the experience. While we learned a lot from this initial testing phase, we believe there is a greater potential to impact more people and are seeking partners to help realize our wider vision.
So we learned many things through this experience. It's an alternative sort of way of working with sound, and as a result, there's many challenges and we learned many things. But one of the most surprising things was that many people reported having quite powerful experiences. Take one example of one person that, after touching the warm sand, they had a memory of the last time they were in nature, and they remembered that it was such a long time ago, and they had a kind of longing to return to this place. And I think this is a common thread across how we see other types of things. So, for example, there's this phenomenon of 10-hour nature videos, and maybe some of you have listened to them before, but essentially it's just 10 hours of some nature sound, and they become very popular. So this video alone has 10 million views. And I feel that it's kind of tapping into some of the benefits that nature can provide. But also, we create nature through algorithms as well. And in this case, this is an app that gives you infinite nature. You can also mix your unique sound of how much nature of one area to another and have this independent mix and get it anytime you want and play it for as long as you want. Which brings us to an interesting point. We're shifting from the code of nature to the written code and the things that we create as humans. And the question is, when we start creating these algorithms, does that actually remove us farther away from nature? How far from the real thing can technology push us before we actually stop getting a benefit? And this is an interesting counterpoint of a research that I found that was essentially testing people that are running on treadmills, and they were showed different natural materials. They were shown different. They showed different visual mediums. Some were cityscapes and some were naturescapes, and they had a better quality running experience whenever they saw a naturescape, which is a very bizarre thing. Why would someone hooked up to the instruments and surrounded by machines in a laboratory, looking at a small screen on the wall, actually get a benefit of nature just by nature being on that screen? And this is a good time to talk about Marshmallow Laser Feast. They are quite good at creating these environments, natural environments, through algorithms and point clouds and various technologies. In the eyes of the animal, which is the one you can see here, people can experience different animals and how they see their environment. And I'm going to show you a little bit, I'm going to show you a quick video of kind of a sense of what you would see in their virtual reality experiences. This is a project that kind of visualized the exchange of air between humans and trees. So, very short video, but you get the sense of whenever you exhale or breathe, you can actually see your breath as particles. And this is an interesting point where technology is used to show you something that you would not be able to see. It would be impossible. You can almost see nature beyond your senses, and you can see something and learn about something that might not be something you can see with your normal senses. And here's another shift. I'd like to talk about another shift where we've talked about how nature has influenced human code, but what about when human code then in turn loops back and influences nature? So with my work with Google Arts and Culture Lab, we work on a project called Heartbeat of the Earth, and this is centered around collaborations that artist collaborations that essentially look at climate data or some climate issues and try to use technology to help us visualize and understand some of the biggest climate issues that we have today. And they all start with different things, but this is a good example, one related to coral reefs. And we started with the idea that over half of all coral reefs have died since the 1950s, which is a stark fact. But there's some hope. Research has shown that whenever audio of healthy coral reefs are played in unhealthy coral reefs, they generate quicker. So the sound, a good quality sound from a healthy habitat will actually help an unhealthy habitat grow quicker. However, so we know sound is very important, but there are countless hours of underwater recordings by bioacousticians around the world, and it requires them to manually go through and listen to those audio recordings to say whether they can say it's healthy or not, or they can detect fish. And all technological approaches like AI that were used to try to help analyze failed. And that's because coral reef soundscapes, they have a lot of noisy snapping shrimp. So it's very difficult for a machine to be able to detect when they hear a fish. So as a result, we created a platform called Calling in Our Corals, where anyone around the world can go on and listen to coral reefs, listen to the sounds of the coral reefs from all across the world. And whenever they hear fish, they can tap. And that simple interaction allows us to understand about which coral reefs are healthy or not. And I'm going to show you a quick video that demonstrates this.
My whole research group have discovered that when we listen to the sounds of the reef, we hear biodiversity. So what does a reef really sound like? On the reef, you've got thousands of species of fish that are producing pops and chirps and croaks as they communicate with each other. Animals that live deep inside the reef, but there are too many recordings for one person to sit down and listen to. And that's where you come in.
We need your help and the help of others like you to form a listening collective. Your data will then be used to train computers to listen for fish sounds automatically. So even 10 seconds of your time can help to contribute to cutting-edge biodiversity research and supporting better protection of coral reefs. You might even be lucky enough to hear fish sounds that no one has ever heard before. So have a listen and tap when you hear a fish sound.
So I'm happy to say that interaction of people around the world, we had people from around the world listen to over 400 hours worth of audio. And from that data that we collected, with the help of several scientists, we were able to create an AI tool that can now listen to coral reefs and understand whether the reef is healthy or not. So all of that time where scientists would be listening to audio and not doing other research is now gone from this new surf perch AI model. And of course, this is it's open source and available for free to anyone. And interestingly, I think in the narrative of code loops, there are many other examples in the past year where AI has been used to positively benefit nature. So what does this mean for our future? So we've gone from the death whistle to these algorithms that can feed us nature, and that's a long way. And I don't want this to sound like how amazing technology is and everything is going to be perfect with technology, because our algorithms just are not perfect. We are somehow the most connected than we've ever been, but yet we still feel quite polarized. For me, I think of it more in terms of an ongoing dialogue where we have the code of nature and we have code of humans and the potential for these things to communicate. And I've shown you a few projects that kind of demonstrate that. So, and there are different approaches, different creative approaches, and those creative approaches are fascinating for me. Whether it be something that is looking at nature in a hypersensory way, where we can really feel and take the time to listen with intention, or using technology to experience the impossible, or finding ways to use our algorithms to help out people. All of these creative approaches are quite unique and valid. But I think it's a little bit less about how we decode nature, but rather celebrating all of the ways that we are linked. And I think as we evolve together, the code, the secret code that I'm talking about feels a little bit more like a shared language. If you think that we can be friends, then please get in touch. Thank you.